welcome to the video on the first start of our stats unit. So first off, usually we start this off with measures of central tendencies. I hope these all look very familiar to you, the mean, median, and mode. I know that my daughters are in elementary right now, and I think they got introduced at least to it, I think around second grade or something like that. So this should be a refresher. If I go too fast, feel free to slow me down by pushing pause and just replaying, okay? So starting off, we're going to go with the mean. I'm going to do some visual representation of these so you can kind of see what they look like visually, just as another way to kind of connect it. So basically what the mean is taking the average. So you're going to add everything up and divide by how many there are. Basically what this is doing is it's taking all of your data, clumping it all together so that you can just see it as one gigantic piece. That's what the adding does. And then the dividing means just breaking it back apart again, but in equal pieces. So that's basically what the mean is actually doing. Now with numbers, the steps to find the mean are first you're going to add the pieces of data together, and then after you add it, you're going to divide by how many there are, right? So this should be the most familiar one to you because it's basically taking the average. So if you have all these numbers, you're going to basically add them all together. So add them up and then count how many pieces there are. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pieces. So I'm going to divide by 9. And once you put this in your calculator, oh, one thing with your calculator too, make sure you add all of these and hit equals. That way you can make sure you sum the entire top part up first and then divide by 9. Sometimes if you push all that in your calculator and push divide by 9, it'll divide just that last number, like just this 10 by 9. Okay, if you don't hit the equal sign on some calculators. So just be careful with that. So 74 divided by 9 is 8.2 or about that. And that's how you find the mean. All right, so that's just a quick refresher on that one. Median. With the median, you have to do a little bit of prep work with the data before you start working with it. Basically, you got to put it in order. Most people say smallest to largest, but technically you can do largest to smallest to the middle is going to be the middle no matter which way you put the data. And then just look for the middle, and then that's it. So let's try this with some numbers. So the steps to find the median, first put the data in order and then find the middle number. Technically, this is the only one of those measures of central tendencies where you have to put the numbers in order. Now, if there's two numbers in the middle, you're going to have to take the average of those two numbers, okay? So take a look at these. So we got 5, 6, 10, all those numbers, okay? These are obviously not in order, so your first step is to put them in order. Second step, we're going to start trying to find that middle number. What I like to do is I count in from the outside numbers, especially when we got little pieces, little sets of data like this. So just go cross them off on your page if you want, just one by one. So outside numbers go away, and I'm left with a 9 in the middle. Now what you're going to find out is if you have an odd amount, so this one we had 9 pieces of data, and we have a number right in the middle. So when you have odd numbers of data, you will have a number. If you have an even amount of data, you're going to have two numbers. You're going to have to take the average. And we'll see an example of that in a minute. So your median here is 9. Mode is probably the easiest one to find. The mode visual, basically, it's just what happens the most. So which piece of this happens the most? It's those green pieces. They happen twice. So the mode, basically the steps are find the data that happens the most often. So one thing that you want to be careful of here is that sometimes there can be more than one mode. Sometimes there might be no mode. So if you have two numbers that happen the most often, then you might have two modes. You might have three different modes. Now, if there's no number that happens more often than the others, then you have no mode. With numbers, here's what this looks like. You just look through it, and then it looks like the 10 happens the most. So that's your mode, and that's it. Now, it's not necessary, but when you have the numbers in order, it's a lot easier to see. I know with my eyes, sometimes they get lost in all this data, and it's hard for me to see these different things. So putting them in order sometimes does help. So your mode, that's how you find your mode. And that's it. That's how you do the measure of central tendencies. Rest of this video is just going to be a couple more examples. So feel free to keep watching or try out the worksheets and then just work along with this video if you'd like. So let's say you went out, you surveyed some people, asked them how old they were when they got their first job. Some people said 14, some people said 18, one person said 21. So this is the data that you're working with. Now, what I usually like to do is put my numbers in order just because I know I got to do it anyways for my median. So I start with my smallest. Smallest number here is a 14. I say I got 3 14s, so I'm going to write 3 14s. Okay, cross those off. That way you don't mistakenly write them again or count them over again. I'll just grade them out so I'm using a PowerPoint though. So next number is 17. So I'm going to write my 17s, grade them out. Next number up is 18s. Next number up is a 20. And then I got my 21 after that. Okay. And then that's it. So I have them in order now. To take the mean, see if you can figure out how to do these. Feel free to pause me if you want to, but to take the mean, you just add them all up. So if you add them all together, you get 171, and then divide by how many there are. So there's 3, 6, 9, 10. So just double check with this: 3, 6, 9, 10. Okay, so divide by 10, and then you get 17.1. Right? To find the median, you just start counting in from the outside parts. You can cross them off if you want to. So just start counting in, and it turns out I got two numbers in the middle. Remember, we had 10. It's an even number. That means I'm not going to have a nice, neat number in the middle. Now, you just take the average of those two numbers because that'll tell you the middle of those two numbers. Now, you can just look at this and see it's 17.5 is directly in the middle. But if these numbers were further apart or something, it helps to add them up and divide by 2. So 17.5 is your median. Now that we have them in order, we can try to count out how many happen the most. Turns out there's a tie here between 14 and 18, so you actually have two. So 14 and 18 are both your modes. All right, and that's it. That's how you deal with a list of numbers. Now, one thing is I'm not going to always just give you like a nice, neat list of numbers. I might give you data that looks like this. It's called the dot plot. So with the dot plot, if in case you need a little refresher, each dot represents how many times this happened. So if you surveyed people about how many hours they slept, or they normally sleep, one person said 4, 6, 3 people said 6 hours, 5 people said 7 hours, and so on and so forth. Now, you can actually interpret a dot plot for a mode pretty easily. It's actually nice and neat because the one that happens the most will have the most dots. So right away we know the mode is 7. We don't even got to put a list. Now the other two we might need a list for. So I'm going to write out my list. So I got a 4. I got, looks like 3 6s. I got 5 7s. I got 4 8s. And 3 9s. Okay. And there's your list. Now this looks just like the previous problem we just did. So we're going to go ahead and just approach it the same way. So we're going to add all the top numbers. When you add all the top numbers, you should get a 116. And then how many do we have? We got 3, 4, plus 5 is 9, 13, 16 pieces of data. So 116 divided by 16, 7.25 is your mean. Now there's a little bit of a shortcut that you could use here if you wanted to. The shortcut is if you have a dot plot, you can actually get those numbers kind of faster because I have 1 4 here. I got 3 6s, so 3 times 6 is 18. Since I now got to add them all together, same thing as multiplying it by 3. I got 5 7s I got to add together, so 5 times 7 is 35. 4 times 8 is 32. 3 times 9 is 27. So actually, I just need to add all these numbers and divide by, I still got 16 pieces of data, so I'm still dividing by 16. And you will still get 7.25, okay? It's a little bit faster, not by much, but I mean, it's a little bit, it's easier for me to see that way. Your median, you still have to write out your numbers in order, so there's not really a way to get around that. And then just start counting in. So we know it's 16, so we're going to end up with two numbers in the middle. Turns out there's 7s. The average of 7 and 7 is, hopefully you know, is 7. But if you wanted to, you could add them together, divide by 2. 7 plus 7 is 14. Divided by 2 is still 7. So median is 7. And that is it. So, like I said, just a quick kind of refresher around mean, median, and mode. If you have any questions, feel free to stop by during my office hours. All right, take care. Bye-bye.